that some of you are from the Las Casas community and are interested in the proposal that has been discussed now for several weeks. I will tell you there is nothing on our agenda tonight to deal with that proposal. The motion from the Public Works Committee was to forward the recommendation of Mayor Burgess and also the recommendation of Commissioner Jack Black to the full commission to determine which plan would be the one to proceed with. And that did pass unanimously in that committee. So we will not be taking any action tonight. We will wait and see what the full commission decides. You are welcome to stay and watch the proceedings of the Budget Committee. But I also would remind you that if you wish to speak, you will, I would suggest that you talk with your commissioner and he could give you some advice on how to sign up for the 3-minute public comment time at our full commission meeting, which is next Thursday. And that meeting is at 6 p.m. in the main courtroom. But thank you for being here and thank you for the interest. But I wanted you to be aware that we will not be taking any action on that proposal tonight at all. Gentlemen, the first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
Commissioner
Second.
Jordan, and seconded by Commissioner Sedlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. Mr. Beatty, our county trustee, will give us the investment report. Good evening, Mr. Beatty.
Good evening. A couple things. One, we did have a bid this last month, and the LGIP rate is 1.14, which is down 1 basis point. But our bids were 0.05 for 90 days and 6 months, and 0.10 for a year. So the LGIP rate was better than the market. So we just moved that to LGIP just to give you some idea of what the rest of the environment is.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Salmon, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Beatty.
It used to be a little bit longer than this a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
But there was better news.
Gentlemen, if you will locate your fund condition report, and we will begin with the development tax report. Mrs. Nolan?
In January, we received $177,750 for the month. Also had 53 apartments paid. That brings our total for the year to $1,035,750.
Our projected again was what?
Million.
I mean, woo, we're over.
We're over.
We did good.
That's good or not? We gotta build schools for these kids in these apartments.
No, that's true.
Okay, let's move please to cash balances.
At the end of January, we had $188,389,000, with $169,125,000 being operating and $19,264,000 being borrowed funds. The item that I'd like to bring to your attention on the cash balances that will be spoken to again when Miss Melissa comes up is the cash balance in our employee insurance. We were at 27.6 last January, and we were at 24 million. It's about 3.5.
Ambulance fund is growing. It's nearly $1.5 million more than it was this time last year.
Any other questions or comments about the cash balances? All right, let's move to revenue.
It's still in this report, but I'll just give you the numbers. So at the end of January, before we talk about the revenue, I'm gonna talk about just two funds.
Oh, sorry.
The general fund, I'll just give you these numbers.
Okay.
General fund in schools, at the end of January, in the general fund, we were 60% spent. That just compares to last year, same time, was at 60.64. In 2011, we're at 58.24. 2010, 57.67. So we're on track, still spending the same rate. We ended up spending 96% of our budget last year, so we had 4% unspent. Schools, theirs are pretty consistent, but in January, they are 49.75% spent. That compares to 2012 at 50%, 50.05, and the year before that in 2011 was 50.51 compared to 2010 of 50.06. So they're, at the same time, they're not spent as much as they were in the prior 3 years. They stay on track. I guess that's telling me is that then we'll have more returned. Okay, now I'll go to the
Revenue Part A,
Okay. Really, I'm telling you the same thing, what I've told you the other months. If you look at the bottom line on the general fund, we're 58.45% collected based on our budget, and that does exceed the other years that I present for you, last 5 years. And ambulance, we're at 57, so we're ahead on that one as well. And pretty much, I think when you look down the line, the road and bridge is about the same, 53.52 compared to 53.50 of the prior year. Every fund is higher than the previous year on revenue collected compared to the budget, compared to actual of the year before. So to tell you all that, you know, that the revenues look like they're doing better than what we projected, and hopefully we'll still not spend all that we spent, but where we stand right now is our revenues are under our appropriations by almost 5.4 million.
Tell me that again. I'm looking at this. You said our revenues are 5 point.
I think if you're on that fund condition report, if you go to the last page of that, the very last page, where you see the statement of proposed operations, the revenue, it's not flipping. Our revenues are below our appropriations exceed our revenues by about 5.4 million.
Well, that's no surprise.
No, that's what
exactly what we budgeted.
we started at 3.8 million, so we've done a little more.
But we knew it's not like all of a sudden we're $5 million short.
Oh, no.
We knew we were going into reserves.
Right.
The motion for the report.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan on the fund condition report? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That motion carries. Okay, we are ready for risk management report. Mrs. Stinson will begin with the financials, and she will begin with Fund 264.
You'll refer to Fund 264. Reviewing just the medical, dental, and vision experience for the month of January, we're at a per employee per month of $785.08 compared to prior year of $928.63, with a year-to-date average of $852.56 compared to prior year of $840.58. We combine our on-site medical experience. For January, we end at a per employee per month number of $835.57 compared to prior year of $965.26, with a year-to-date average of $888.05, compared to prior year-to-date average of 871.56 for a change of 1.9%. There's an additional page attached to this report which speaks to what Ms. Nolan had referenced earlier. We review the financials on a monthly basis from a fiscal year perspective. When we set our revenue, we're setting it on an annual basis. Because of the budgetary process, we are also setting it a little bit prematurely, somewhere between 4 to 5 months earlier than what you would typically set your premium rates. So as an example, when we set rates for 2012, we were actually using experience from February of 2011 through, February 2010 through January of 2011. So it's based on the experience at that time. And if you look at 2011 on this sheet, what you will see is we actually ended up in 2011 with a good balance of revenue versus expenses. 2012 was not as favorable, where we see that expenses outpaced our revenue for that year. And we see that continuing to be a trend in January of this year as well. This will be important for us to know and understand as we look at premiums in the coming months, because we'll have additional expenses related to healthcare reform, in addition to the ongoing trend that we see in increase in cost inside of our plan. The combination of healthcare reform, statutes, and the projections completed by Deloitte for us in 2011 should result somewhere around $2.1 million in increase to the plan in 2014. Now, roughly $1 million of that will carve out and will hit individual accounts for the transitional reinsurance fee, but still we're looking at over $1 million impact to the plan immediately. And in addition to that, we passed to reduce the county contribution by 1% year over year. So we are already facing increases for 2014 just with those two provisions.
But go back to that $1 million you said that it would be attributed and carved out.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be pushed back to the individual departments and
To the funds.
To the funds. Yeah, you want to speak to
to the
that?
funds, but in any event, that's money that we have to spend.
Right.
So, I mean,
With
really,
no
if the
benefit.
$2.1 million is new money that has to be spent somehow with respect to the total cost of the increase of the new healthcare plan.
That's correct. We will see an increase due to the change in the pre-existing laws in 2014. We'll see continuing ongoing expenses related to dependents to age 26. There's also an auto-enrollment provision that begins in 2014 where basically if an employee does not go in and either elect or decline purposely our insurance, then we will have to automatically enroll them in an insurance plan. There will also be changes to employees who work an average over a period of time of 30 hours or more during the week. And then there is a research fee that is $1 per member that's going to roughly cost us about $12,000 in 2014. And then there's the reinsurance fee that we referenced as well.
This
Sounds like
is
a lot.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sounds like a lot of this hits in January 2014, but this doesn't affect 2013.
That's correct.
So
It
I
doesn't
guess-
affect 2013. Our biggest risk right now is what we see on the sheet. If you'll look at 2012, you can kind of see how our claims paced from February 2012 through December. And that will be the numbers that are used to calculate premiums, including the January 2013 numbers for the experience, actual claims that we're going to be setting in January of next year. So because we have that 4 or 5 months ahead premature there, then we have the risk of fluctuation that could either work to our advantage or disadvantage depending on what the experience is during that time frame.
And I guess this just affects 2014. Maybe when we budget for next fiscal year, we'll be able to ease into it a little bit. We won't face the full increase in the next fiscal year, just the
Correct.
first half of
Just the first half,
2014.
that's right.
Next fiscal year.
And you're on action on this now, where this is just, so everybody won't be
Information only, that's right.
blindsided, because numbers are dwindling and we've got more stuff coming, so it's
That's
gonna
right.
take some action at some point in time.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
This is thank you, President Obama. Correct?
That's what you said, yes, sir.
26.
Well, I mean, it's coming down the pike and all the I mean, every company's having to deal with it. It's just, you know, I want the employees to know, I want the taxpayers to know. This isn't something that 21 county commissioners or a mayor or you or
That's right.
finance director, anybody has chosen to do.
That's right.
So this is something that's an unfunded mandate
Yes, that's
and
correct.
across the board that we're having to deal with, and we're dealing with it.
That's right, and it is
We're
gonna
gonna pay for
impact
it.
us, and it's gonna
Mhm.
impact our employees and the taxpayers, that is correct.
Well, the federal government passed it down to the state passed it down to the county. We just don't have anybody to pass it down to. We're the
Oh, we
bottom of the
do.
food
Yeah, you
chain,
do.
you know.
Yeah, we do. We're-
Or the taxpayer.
taxpayer.
Well, but yeah,
Taxpayer.
well, that's who pays the state and federal
Yeah,
taxes.
That's right,
Yeah.
already.
But we can't pass the buck any lower anymore. We just have,
Something happens like this every year, though, but not maybe to this magnitude, but we get things in education and all that we have to do, that we gotta scrape, cut other places or whatever. But I do have a question. Is there any way yet, has it been in long enough that kids, I don't know, almost to the grandparent age at 26, I guess, that they're still under their parents' health care plan? Is there a way you can tell how much that 4-year increase affects us?
I don't have actual numbers. I can only tell you what the projections were based on enrollment.
Mhm.
I can, for 2014, it's $711,000, our projected impact cost,
Just that,
just for that
Sure.
one provision.
Wow.
So, and it was just slightly over $1 million was the projections for $500,000 for 2013. And we have a lot of employees taking advantage of that.
Mrs. Stinson, let's move on to 266.
Okay, you'll refer to Fund 266.
One other question. By us being self-insured, though, there's no breaks or no, I don't know how to put it, but
Yeah,
there's
no
there's not any advantage or incentives for self-insured compared to.
Initially, we had some advantages because we were considered a grandfathered policy. Now we have a grandfathered status as of 2013, and so any advantages that we did have, we have now lost, and that will happen to every employer. So they did allow initially some provisions that you could kind of hold on to, not implementing the age 26 effective in September. You could do it next plan year and things like that. We had some of those benefits, but no longer. Okay. In reference to Fund 266, our year-to-date average is $519,486 compared to prior year of $459,792 for a 13% increase. We currently have 19 workers' comp claims still open.
Approve report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sadler. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Stinson? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. And Mrs. Stinson, you have a request to amend the dental plan from the insurance committee?
Yes, ma'am. Just for a point of reference, a review was completed by Cigna. I met with them in
Gentlemen, we don't have anything on our iPad for this.
This is just verbal. In December, and the review period was for the fiscal year that ended in June of last year. But what it showed is that for dental only, we actually had a positive, a negative trend of 3.4%. So we saw some improvement in our dental plan. And we also talked about other things that we could do to improve our plan overall. And one of those that was brought to light was fillings, teeth fillings. Right now, we do not cover composite fillings on posterior teeth. So you get a tooth filled in the back, you're getting the silver filling. The problem is you go in, a lot of dentists won't do the silver fillings anymore. So they will go ahead and fill the tooth. It goes to Cigna. Cigna will only pay what the silver filling would have cost, and then our employees are left with the balance, okay? And sometimes it's unbeknown to them at the time of service.
Yeah.
We need to correct that. It's about a $42,000 impact to the plan. My recommendation to the insurance committee, which was passed, was to retroactive that to January 1. It's just easier from an administrative perspective to keep things on a 1/1 or 7/1 cycle. So I'm bringing tonight for your consideration that we make all fillings available for the composite fillings effective 1/1/2013.
So move.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you.
Second motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Discussion, Commissioner Schaefer?
So where does the 42,000 come for this year? Is it gonna be increased
It will be-
dental coverage next year? It's gonna
It'll
cost
be
more.
increase in 2013 is the projected number for those posterior teeth that will have the composite fillings and pay at the right benefit level.
Okay.
Any further discussion relative to the motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. From the Health Department, Mrs. Garrett, we have an agreement with the Tennessee Department of Health. And this is our annual
Yes, ma'am.
agreement or
This is our
contract?
annual agreement. And, this is something that you guys have already passed in your current year budget. And this is just the official contract coming from the state several months behind. So I need to present that to you.
Based on calendar year or fiscal year?
Fiscal year.
So this is starting last July?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner P.
This is every year though,
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
yeah,
So,
this is
yeah.
pretty
It's
So-
about,
typical.
it's
Yeah.
about typical
This
February.
is pretty
yeah.
typical,
Yeah.
yes.
If I
Stated
could do
work.
it, I'd get it to you on time, but.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Commissioners, appreciate it.
Okay, we have a solid waste sanitation fund budget amendment. Mr. Nolan. Good evening.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Just fine, thanks. Your budget amendment first.
Budget amendment, we want to remove $7,360 from our asphalt fund and put $6,000 into the litter crew gasoline fund, $360 into the recycled communications fund, and $1,000 into towing service for the garbage trucks.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner P.
Doolin second.
We have a whole line item for towing services?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought that would be mixed in with maintenance and repair or mechanics or something like that.
We've got one separate for
And
that.
we're 1,000 short too.
Yeah.
We having a lot of towing going on?
We've had more towing this year than we had last year.
You bid those services?
No, sir.
Do, when the spring comes, are we gonna still have enough to do the plan, whatever your plan was on the convenience centers for the asphalt?
Yes, sir. We only have one left to pay, and they're usually 25 to 30,000, so we should be okay.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
They do.
The next item on our agenda is the annual contract in lieu of performance bond for the Rutherford County landfill.
And what that's for is to maintain the closed portion of the landfill. It decreases every year, but it's the money that we keep in reserve in case something catastrophic goes wrong. We've got money in the reserve to cover it.
At this rate, that money will be down to zero in about 400 years.
Something like that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
Is this with the, this is with the closed landfill that we have, right?
Yes, sir.
The one with the cap on it and everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And all this is that if, I mean, that you'll provide the money each year to take care of it.
It's state law, we don't have
Yeah.
federal law.
Yeah, we've been doing that
Yeah.
year after year now.
So do we have that money in a fund
No.
somewhere?
No.
We do have it.
We just said we're good.
We've got a commitment
Yeah.
for it.
That's what I'm saying,
Okay.
I just didn't want you to think that there is a pot of money sitting out for this.
Okay. I was
So
gonna
is
say,
it-
what can we use 126,000 for?
So is the state okay with us, or we leachate okay, landfill's okay?
We still have a few issues that we're still working through, but we're still doing okay.
There'll be reoccurring issues from now on.
We put that cap
As it-
on there
as it
to
ages in
to
place.
lessen the issues, you know, so to
Mhm.
speak, so.
We spent quite a few dollars last year. Over the years, the landfill itself has settled. So when you finished it and did all the drainage, when it settled, the drainage didn't work right anymore, so we had to go through and correct all that. So we spent all last summer working on those issues.
But we ain't got any major things with the state then?
No.
Good. We don't wanna have major things with the state. And for us, I mean, you know.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Education Capital Projects Fund Budget
Okay.
Amendments.
Oh, there he is. I didn't see
Mr.
him.
Sandvik?
I knew he was here somewhere.
Good evening, Mr. Sandvik.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. All right.
And I think you just have this one.
Yes, ma'am.
But it covers like 3 or 4 screens on our iPad, so gentlemen,
I brought the
you
paper
got 2
copy.
attachments there.
We are asking to amend $125,000 from the Major Capital Projects Fund that was originally funded by 5 cents at Dr. Bullen's suggestion several years ago. But from the Committed for Educational Capital Projects, in order to fund the changes that we need to make at Laverne and the Smyrna High stadiums for seating for disabled people in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we are therefore asking to amend. Our recommended motion is to take $125,000 out of Committed for Educational Capital Projects, account 34685, to other contracted services, account 91300-399, contracted services, in order to fund this project, seating for the disabled at those 2 stadiums.
Second motion.
Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
I want to ask one question
Surely.
on that, though. Jeff, we, there was, maybe a couple years ago, and this may be already done or whatever, but
It's not. It's still floating around. You'll see it again.
the restrooms and,
The restrooms and expansion of the seating, yes, sir.
and the concession, yeah, I was
And
trying
the
to think.
concessions,
yeah.
right.
Okay,
Mhm, yeah.
that's still out there.
It's gonna be
That
a
is
whole
still
lot
out
more than
there.
125,000.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask, you know, while
We
you're.
really felt we needed to proceed with this.
Yeah. Oh, you got to proceed with that, but I'm just saying, it could tie in
Right.
possibly, and, you know,
Right.
you want to make sure, I'm sure y'all on the plan with it, I just didn't know about it, so I wanted to
Yes,
ask.
we still are,
All right.
and that was on the schedule that we took to Health and Ed in January, and they will be
Okay.
talking about that more later this month.
Sorry about that, thank
No,
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
just,
So that 125,000 is only building a couple of ramps?
and some seating.
Okay, so
But that
there
is our
is
estimate.
additional
Yes,
seating
there,
in
they
total.
will be able to, people in wheelchairs will be able to sit in those areas. And I
More or
did
less a
not-
platform type thing and a
Right.
ramp thing, yeah.
They had a full pictures and all of it at Health and Ed, but
And I
you're not
apologize, I
netting
didn't-
any more standard seats, so
No.
you're
No.
actually losing some seats on one side, it seems, and adding a little area
Mhm.
with a platform where there will be place for handicapped or wheelchairs on each side
Mhm.
and the ramps. But we've got to meet the
Yeah.
disability act.
Yeah. But you have a time frame in there to get it done, don't you? Did we pass that?
If this amendment passes,
They can get it done.
we should have it ready with ease for football next year.
Is that when we have to have it?
Well, we
Okay.
think it would be wise to have it.
Years
I
later,
got
already.
you.
And these 2 stadiums were built before that law passed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
89, 88,
87.
88.
Yeah.
First school games.
Yeah. So,
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, we're ready for general fund budget amendments. The first amendment from juvenile detention. Mrs. Dew, good evening.
Good evening. Okay, what I'm doing is just moving some money around from within my budget. I'm moving $437 from maintenance and repair to other supplies and materials. And then I'm wanting to acknowledge an extra $1,001 from a grant that was not previously recognized.
What's that, a match or something that goes with it?
No, the grant.
What is?
The Title I grant
Mhm.
is a new grant that we applied for this year and received, and they just threw an extra $1,000 on.
Oh, okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
so that's just where it's coming in, it's
Increased, I
going
see
in.
it now, yeah, okay. I was reading down there what it is, but then I didn't look up there, so it's.
Motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin.
That's right, yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. Emergency management. Mr. Hooker, welcome. Gentlemen, when we talk about these grants, we will have a budget amendment, and then we will also have a grant contract. So we will need two separate motions as we get the information from Mr. Hooker. And then as part of your motion, would you authorize the mayor to execute the necessary documents?
I apologize up front. I'm going to have to whisper. I've been sick for a week.
Oh, my.
And I thought I was getting better, but today I completely
Oh,
lost
my goodness, you have no voice at all?
I have no voice.
Oh, well, let's step in and help you.
I'll help.
Yes.
Lisa can take this.
Oh, yes.
I'll start. I'll start, you can fill in. Okay, so the first one is the 2012 Homeland Security Grant for $66,000, and this amendment recognizes that revenue and puts it in other equipment. The next several pages is the grant, and again, it's for the 2012 year.
In fact, I think for like the next 20 pages or so, gentlemen,
Yep.
just keep scrolling through until you'll get to the, yeah.
The next budget amendment after that.
Okay, the next budget amendment is a grant, is a 2013 Hazardous Materials Planning Grant, and it provides training for 51 folks for hazardous training.
This is a very intensive, informative hazardous materials training class for
Very
hazardous
intensive,
materials technicians.
informative, hazardous training
For hazardous materials
for hazardous materials.
And there is a, is it 1,600?
6,500 is provided by the federal government, and then
6,500 provided by federal government.
And the remainder, $1,625 to come
Is
out
the
of our
match.
EMA budget.
And the remainder is the county match.
So that is a decrease of $625 from instructional supplies and material, and the balance to in-service training of $7,125, with $6,500 coming from the grant.
We're up to the second amendment here. Did we say earlier we need two different
Well,
motions?
can we do it together?
Yeah.
Or it's okay to put it together? Okay, that'll even
Make
simplify.
a motion to approve the grants and also authorize the mayor or whoever else needs to fulfill those.
Okay, and the motion that you're making, Commissioner P, is for both of
For
these.
both.
Thank you.
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion or
Just-
questions?
Yeah. The one thing that is coming out of Mr. Hooker's
Budget.
petty cash on the last part. that
Any further
he stepped up.
discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you feel better soon and you get your voice back. Gentlemen, I hope you have navigated through all those pages of those grants, and you are now ready for an amendment for employee insurance for the various departments.
And I'm on page 36 of 41 if y'all are with me. This amendment request is to take $49,666 from the pooled employee insurance benefit aligned to the various departments after a result of the open enrollment. We know where people, the things that they have chosen, and compare that to what our budget is for the remainder of the year. So again, we're recommending pulling $49,666 from the pooled account, $150 to health department, $11,791 for the register of deeds, $730 for domestic violence, $34,520 for the sheriff's employees, and $2,475 for the agriculture extension.
Move approved.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner P. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. I don't see any. Okay, next we have transfers out for the Elam Road Fire Hall.
This amendment is a request for the fire that happened at the Elam Road Fire Hall. The recommendation is to take it from the judgment line item of $151,300 to transfers out to account for the capital projects of the reconstruction of the fire hall.
What would it consist of? Which side tear that down and build one like we did at Fosterville?
Well, at Fosterville, it's a little, the cost on the building itself is a little under $350. So you got $340 to $350 plus your engineering cost
This
and
ain't
your
that much.
demolition cost.
This one right here, where the end ain't that much a junk hole. We're gonna spend a lot of money, looks like to me. At a waste. So, I'm gonna make a motion or amendment to that would take a bid on one like Fosterville over there to replace it.
What did public safety do? Was that a motion?
Yeah.
Josh,
Okay,
I'll second
Yeah.
this motion when we discuss it.
we do have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Because I'd be interested in
Commissioner
what public
Yeah.
safety
I
and
don't
property
recall-
management both
Yeah,
ought to be
I don't
involved in.
recall seeing it at
The
public
extra money
safety.
did not come through the public safety. You know, we just
Well,
knew that it was gonna be more. I don't think it's,
Maybe it didn't go to public safety. I know it's talked, property management has discussed it because we had to get authority to execute an agreement, which would have gone through the commission to have an engineer draw the plans.
Yeah, we've already spent the money.
We've already spent the money for that, and that was approved and went through the discussion process.
You know, we're,
And it
no
wasn't
offense,
there.
Commissioner Jernigan, we're pretty far down this road.
We've already taken bids.
You know, we've spent the money on the engineering, we've got the bids, we're ready to accept bids and start construction.
Yeah, but
I was
you-
wondering why we didn't have this conversation 6 months ago.
You read, you had bids on rebuild parts. You didn't take no bid, nothing was discussed about whether you're building yours or not.
Well, we took the recommendation to rebuild this and bring it back up to the condition it was before, plus some compliance issues, and that was discussed, and that's how we approved the $17,000 because we didn't have an agreement. We had to have an agreement with an engineer to do the work to define what needed to be done, so it's been discussed.
I realize that.
And though what has mentioned this previously,
Well, what I think Joe's saying is, he's gone out there recently and looked at the building. I know what it used to be. know, I personally would have liked to have seen an estimate on cost for both ways, you know, rebuilding it or a new building there, starting over from scratch. So, but you've got a legitimate complaint, or you make a legitimate point there too, so. But I don't recall seeing the budget figures of this from public safety. We'd have probably had that discussion there if we'd seen.
Well, I guess these numbers result from bidding the project.
We had said it was going to be in the neighborhood of $100,000 or thereabouts, and this 151 is what it takes to make the project whole with the bid and the cost of engineering.
Well, what did they say out of property management? Do you recall?
We didn't discuss the Fosterville standards. I wouldn't be opposed to discussing it back in property management. What's the motion?
The motion?
The motion is for funding.
If I understood him, he wants to use the bids from Fosterville for this station. Is that
Well,
what
that's-
you use those same bids?
I'd say it'd be equivalent.
He's amended something we don't have a motion for.
Well, he made a
I
motion.
think he made a motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
you don't
you
have-
just-
this amendment's not on the floor.
Oh, okay. So that was just your motion, just to, all right, I got you.
What is the motion?
No, I'm not
exactly?
sure I'm clear, Commissioner Jernigan. Are you saying to use the same bids as the Fosterville, or to use Fosterville as an example?
That's what I'm saying. I think it'd work just as well.
How long, that would mean it'd have to back up and go through property management, public safety,
Yeah.
back to here, back to the
We'd have-
commission. How long are the bids you've just received good for?
They're
'Cause-
usually good for 60 days, but I don't know for sure, okay?
I'd rather before we go down this path, I'd rather go back through it.
I
I think we
can
made
tell
a
you,
mistake myself.
We can pretty much estimate what, if you got the same bid you got out there, and you paid an engineer, and you put it back at the same site, I suppose, I don't know, and you
Yeah.
tore that building down, it's gonna be pushing $400,000.
And you've already spent 17 of this 151.
Right. I mean, I really appreciate the thought here. I wish we could have had, I should have had this discussion. I should have thought about this, I guess, even before myself. But if we're gonna find this much additional money, we've been talking a lot about needing equipment, et cetera. I mean, and I think I'd prefer to use that to enhance and improve and upgrade and stabilize our equipment across all of the departments that we have.
You're also talking about a place that's gonna be there from now on, a volunteers station.
That's true.
That these people volunteer and spend their time and go to. And the least we can do is try to make it comparable to some of these others.
Commissioner, I haven't seen it personally, so talking about
Go by over and look.
doing, well, that's what I'm asking. So this is a considerable rebuild. I mean, it's not total rebuild, of course, but
No.
it's gutting it, and you don't think
I don't
this is
see-
going to make this better?
Go by and look at it yourself and see what you think you can rebuild on
Well,
it.
it burned up, did it not? Is this the one that was on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna look pretty bad right now. It's burnt out right now.
Part of it
Well, I
is,
mean,
yeah.
part
Not
of it
all
wasn't
of
nothing but like a
not all
barn
of it.
anyway.
But it'll
Been
be a
added
whole
on
lot
to
better
it,
when we
huh?
get through. It'll be in full code compliance.
But Commissioner Jernigan, what you're saying is you're suggesting that it should be demolished and just start all
That's
over.
what I say.
That's what you're asking.
What is?
That's what the volunteer
Chief
fire
said.
department
Chief
people
doesn't
work
know
out of
this
there.
discussion's taking place.
He
He
was okay
contacted
with what was
me.
going down
Yes.
the path before.
Right. He's been involved in this
Yeah.
discussion the whole time, and we've not had this
Everybody's
discussion at all.
everybody's been on board with what we're doing. We spent this
We thought
16,
we were all
17.
together on this.
We've spent this $16,000, $17,000. Everybody moving forward. Everybody to some extent happy with what's going on. Things like that. I think we're this far in. We're just going to throw money away if we turn around now.
I see the commissioner's point too. I hate to spend this much money and it not be up to where it needs to be. I think it will, but I mean, we're talking about it's pretty much a
Holds our
rebuild.
equipment in a safe environment.
Yeah.
It's not clear whether we have the money or not, but at a minimum, we ought to ask Mr. Farley
Oh,
whether he'd rather spend this money on the structure or on equipment, and maybe that's a discussion that would have to.
Well, I've tried to call him just before the meeting, and I didn't get him.
We've already spent 16, 17,000, they were gonna spend another 135,000 compared to spending another
200
another
plus.
400, so that'd be
Yeah.
a difference of 265,
Yeah.
something like that. That's significant money.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second to consider.
One other thing, let me, excuse me, I'm sorry
Sure,
to
no,
interrupt.
that is fine.
If I'm not mistaken, this department now has been taken over by Rutherford County
Yes, sir.
Department, so this is a county building. This is not one of the volunteer buildings that
That's
are
right.
out here.
That's right.
Of course, most of those are still county, on county property, and have either been improved by the fire departments or, you know, an old county building that had been renovated. So just so you know what we're talking about. Excuse me, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
you're fine. This is the perfect, appropriate time to have discussion, Commissioner P. Any further discussion on the motion and the second that is on the table?
We clarify the motion.
The motion would be to demolish the Elam Road Fire Station and use the same bids and plans for the Fosterville Fire Hall to completely rebuild it.
I understand that the bid is probably time sensitive. Is it real time sensitive how quickly we get another structure built there, whether it's a less elaborate one or the more elaborate one on the scale of Fosterville?
Well, time sensitive to the degree that, you know, we need a fire engine out there at that location so we can respond properly in that area. We don't have one out there now.
I'm pretty uncomfortable with the motion, at least the way it's stated. We talk a lot about the committee structure process, following the committee process, and I would, in my opinion, if we're going to do anything, send it back to property management or public safety. We want to let them start this ball from, instead of us just making a decision here in budget that would go to the full commission, that we're going to demolish this structure. I mean, we're the budget committee. We're not the property management committee, and I don't think we ought to be, if you want to make a motion to defer it back to one of those committees and let it come through properly, then I'd feel a little more comfortable with that, but I don't think the budget committee is the one to be making the decision to demolish the
I'm
structure.
satisfied with that, send it back to them.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna be there when they meet
Yeah,
next
well, I
time.
mean, and if that comes through the committee process, then that would,
Okay, so you will consider that, then would you
Yeah, that's
withdraw
fine,
your,
that's
you will
fine,
withdraw
that's
your
fine,
motion?
That's fine with me.
All right, you have withdrawn your motion,
Yes.
and Commissioner P, will you withdraw your second?
Will you put the motion then on the floor, since it's in yours, to send it back to property management or whoever you want to send it to, and let's start
That'd be
from.
what, that's who, it went through, wasn't it, Ernest?
Yep.
Would that be the appropriate place to start?
we're gonna lose a month here if we did proceed forward. I mean, I hate that for, if we're trying to get a firehouse under fire
I'd
engine
rather
undercover,
get
but.
something right as to halfway do it with. I don't
Well, I mean,
care if we wait a
I
month or not.
I can live with a month. I mean, I just hope the chief and everybody else is good with that, and hope the bids don't lapse, and we can.
Okay, would you restate your motion then, Commissioner Jernigan?
We'll send it back to property man.
Okay.
And
Refer this back to property management.
We'll request to look at replacing it with a new building instead
Okay.
of,
Look at
rebuild.
replacing with a new building.
I'll second it.
And you will second that, Commissioner P. Discussion, Commissioner Schaefer.
Yeah. Okay. The way I'm understanding, we've on 17,000 we spent for engineering. The total cost of this building, including that 17,000, to renovate it, I guess you could call it a renovation, but is 351,000. We're looking
151,000.
150.
That's the
I'm looking at the wrong figure.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's 151, and we're looking at a new building, then coming towards 400,000 in that neighborhood. Okay.
Any further discussion? Are you comfortable with what the motion is, gentlemen? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Okay, let's move to the next budget amendment, please. Transfers out
After.
for we're calling it the Public Safety Building.
Public Safety Building, Ms. Lane came up with.
What you got, the annex?
Annex. After bids have been received on remodeling the Public Safety Building or annex, this amendment is needed to provide sufficient funds to complete the project based on the estimate provided by the architect. And the contractor has estimated 3 months to complete this project, and we need $110,000 more to complete.
Gentlemen, this is the building that next door to the jail.
And we are requesting $110,000 from unassigned fund balance.
This one we said $1 million to do it.
Now we're at 11.
Now we're at
1.1.
1.1.
Correct.
What was the bid?
Well, the $800,000-900,000 was buying the building, so.
I'm talking about what was the remodel?
I thought it was $750.
Or whatever it was.
And $250 was supposed to be to
The low bid is $253,000 on the renovation.
On the
We
remodel.
gave $750 and $253. That's just over $1 million. There's another
There's
$100,000 somewhere.
Well, we've got engineering fee of $27,000. We've got $1,400 of survey.
And then all
There's
the
some,
cabling.
there's some electronics, some cabling, some fiber optics. All of that's estimated at $45,000.
So the bid at $250 does not lock and key, as you would say.
Oh, right, it's
I
not.
believe that's
Okay.
what we said, though. We said turnkey.
But it didn't happen. It didn't come in low enough for that.
Can we not rebid it?
I don't think the next bid is substantially more. I don't think you're gonna get a better bid than that. We thought the bidder might back out on the bid. It was that much lower than the other bids.
I believe you better take the bid you got.
It's a good bid.
Were ever estimate anything that came in under our estimation? 'Cause no offense to anybody here, but
Yeah, we
like
got-
everything we
Workhouse.
estimated $300,000 is
Workhouse and
$450.
juvenile
Everything we.
detention came in under.
What was it?
Workhouse and juvenile detention came under.
We've had a couple schools come under.
Yeah. Several of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all towards anybody, but there's a lot of folks out there looking for work, and a lot of contractors needing work and trying to just keep their crews busy and working. And one stigma I don't like is, man, when we see the government coming, we just stick it to them. Well, the government is them. It's us. We're taxpayers. We're paying it. And
Well, the next bid was.
that's why I've started that little phrase of turnkey, because that's what I mean. I mean turnkey. That means opening up the door and starting business or whatever you're doing in there, what we're approving. And I'm sorry I'm a little irritated here, but it just, that's, if we say that, folks, this is what you got to spend, let's make it work. We just, we keep pulling out of our pocket, and I think that's what we're trying to do here on the budget committee and other committees. I don't have an answer besides saying rebid it, but I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
The next bid was $294,000, $40,000 more, and they went up from there. We had 8 bids. This is one of the best bidding situations we've had recently.
That is a lot of bids, 8 bids.
One thing this is gonna offset, and the reason we did this is, we were paying quite a bit in rental fees. You wanna refresh our memory, how much rental we've been paying there, or just a close estimate? I don't see any back of it. They're not even in the corner.
It was substantial, and we've already reduced it some.
Yeah.
How much
the sheriff.
rental fee?
Yeah.
How much you were paying in rent?
That we're not gonna pay in the future.
I remember looking.
Oh, I
at
understand.
that
That's why we
over
bought
there.
the building. I think we got the building,
Well,
We were buying the building because originally there was a $9 million expansion when I came into office, and then that got taken back, and then what was brought up about this was we've got to have some relief within the office because of the office space. And so this was to give us some office space. That's why we're moving the detectives over, SROs over, community service, and then also training.
Oh, I understand why we got the building and we bought it at a good at a good price, I think. I just, the point is of
There will-
buying the building and refurbishing or doing what we need to do for $1 million. That was the whole point right there. We can do it. Let's do it. We're in. We're all in.
Well,
Taxpayers, county
if
commissioners,
this
we're all
does-
in.
We do have inmate labor
But now we
that's
need,
gonna be doing this.
now we need another $110,000. It's nothing to break the bank over. It's just kind of like, it's another
You can do a lot of
$110,000,
things,
you know?
But I can't help that part of it.
You put out,
But we are using inmate labor to build the walls and do certain things in there.
No, we're not, Mr. Sheriff.
No, we're not doing that now?
We're not using inmate labor, period.
Like,
So-
no supervision to watch them.
Is it because of the liability?
No. Lack
Their
of personnel.
maintenance people have more to do in the current building than they can oversee.
Children.
The last thing I was aware that we were doing that, so if we're not doing that.
That's, 'cause
well, you put it out,
you were up partying with them in Washington.
Commissioner Jernigan?
you put out a bid, how many bids you got in there?
Eight bids.
Well, that's eight bids, that's more than we ever in to get, so.
But still, in the long run, we're gonna come out ahead. I think that's the way we need to look at it, at 110,000. I hate to see it two going over, but.
What's the difference between the high bid and the lowest that you got there?
Oh, the high bid is $348,000.
And the lowest is what?
$253,000.
95,000.
I think we'd be advised if we can to go ahead and, even though it's more than we anticipated and projected, we'll be miles ahead. And we'll be saving, I think the savings on the lease part is $30,000 or $40,000 a year, I'm not sure. It was a fair amount of money.
I was thinking it was quite a bit more than that. My memory may be faulty, that's why I was hoping they could remind us, but when I saw that, it's what made me think, hey, we need to go buy a building for as much as we're putting out on rentals. So, having said that, I'm gonna make a motion to accept this bid.
I'll second.
Commissioner P, thank you, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
Because we have location for one thing, where this one is. It's right near the jail and that, so just things like that. We may not ever be able to get it again. The other one, to get it close, you heard the figure a while ago. A few minutes was $9 million.
We've already bought the building.
I was gonna say, we've already bought the building. That's
It's ready to
the
go.
point. I
The work is
understand
ready to be
that.
started.
Well, one thing I will say, I'm kinda like Mr. Sandlin, is we say we're gonna spend $1 million on the building, y'all best be coming back before.
It don't happen that way though.
Well,
That's the
but
problem.
you see it, you see it in the construction industry. You see what houses are selling for or something like this, but then you look what the insurance companies are coming out with on their quotes and is for replacement costs new, it's higher than what they're going for to replace something. And that's what we're doing here, is we're building it, and materials are up.
Any further discussion relative to this motion, gentlemen? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Sheriff's Department and Jail, Sheriff Arnold, Chief Deputy Russell. Good evening, gentlemen.
Chief Garland's here now.
We have your budget amendments. Mr. Russell, you can walk us through those 6, please.
Okay. First item I've got is insurance recovery on vehicles. We had a $12,000 check come in, so we're putting that in our new vehicles account number 718. We're going to move $6,800 out of $399 on the jail side and put that into repair and maintenance of the building, which is where we always need money, and we found some money in our budget to do that with.
So is that figure right there, is that up to date, Sam, what we have in there? Repair and maintenance of the building?
Oh, 6,800?
Yeah, what's the total
You want
in
the
there?
balance in
No,
there
you're
now?
sending
Yeah, we're
6,800
sending
over there.
6,800 over to it, yes, sir.
But what do you have in that account right now?
Well, it's right there. 315,206 is what's been spent to date. So amended budget is 335,143 now. With this amendment, we'll take it to 341,943.
That's what I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, number
And just to stay clear on repair and maintenance of the building, that's, just like it says, repair and maintenance on the building. So is the rest of this already allocated, or not really allocated, but have so many dollars, checked in certain areas on this?
It's all, basically, all of that's already been spent and
more.
committed. You know, we've had the hot water, the heater
Right.
exchangers.
Well, that's why I'm asking what the balance is, because you're saying it's 315,000, we're adding another
Probably-
6,800 to it.
We don't have that here, but I'd say the balance that hadn't already been spent or encumbered is basically nothing.
No, that's.
It's gone.
So that's why the
Yeah.
6,800 is going over there.
And we're using this money to remodel all the pods while our inmate population's down.
Okay.
We're going in and basically turning them back.
How much
into
money you got
so-
left to build that 10,000?
Yeah, it's
Less
like
than 10,
10,000.
less than $10,000.
Okay.
And it, you know,
That's what I was asking, what
Yeah.
the balance is today. So that's,
Well, that's what, this is what our books say today. There may be some things that
Mhm.
going through the
And like
layers
the-
that's not here,
Right.
that's not in our books yet.
yeah.
If I get this pulled up,
There's
I
a
can
purchase
show you.
order today of $28,000 to repair those boilers.
Mhm.
And that's just part of the payment on that, so that's a $58,000 bill.
And we're gonna be able to repair them.
They've already repaired them.
yeah.
That's good. We don't need new boilers right now.
No.
Maybe, let's say that softly, right?
More than one.
You have to have hot water all the time.
Yeah.
Can you keep going?
Go ahead.
Please, number
Okay, yeah,
three,
go ahead.
number three.
Okay, number three. Out of repair and maintenance equipment, we're gonna move 15,000, and out of prisoner clothing, we're gonna take 15,000, and we're gonna put that into the food prep supplies in the kitchen. 25,000 total. We're gonna move 20,000 out of repair and maintenance of vehicles and put that into parts, because our parts have gone up on us. Then the next one was, there's been a lot of discussion about the chillers, and so after talking with the mayor and all that, we decided that to pull some money out of the development tax.
Let me interject
you
on
got
here.
something different,
Okay,
go
no,
ahead.
because same one I did at public safety. Instead of an increase in the development tax, it will be a.
Oh, that's right,
A
yeah.
reduction of
34,585, yeah.
the reserve.
Reserve, yeah, the
for-
reserve.
For
yeah,
capital.
start with that.
101,34,585 is the account number. It's gonna come out of the reserve. If there's any, we already know, as we looked at the development tax, it came in more, but accounting-wise, we're gonna take it out of the reserve. We'll address the increase to the revenue in June.
Forward 268.
That's most of it.
268,000 out of the reserve
Mhm.
for building improvements for the chillers.
That's the letter y'all got.
That's that in the bottom.
No, I got mine.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to correct that, make sure that that
Oh,
was
yeah,
correct
no,
before you
Mine
go.
was at 8:30 at night. They were
We
nice
talked
to
about
me.
When did you get yours?
About 8:05, 8:10.
So he's got another one after this.
Stay on work.
I got the DEA fund.
Well,
Email.
This is
the,
this is the,
Oh,
the
Board of
after-school
Education, yeah.
activities.
Board of
Yeah,
Education.
that was in the notes. And then, somehow that line disappeared anyway. It's 56,000.
56,
56,570.
56,570. We're gonna, Board of Education's gonna be paying back the overtime, and we're gonna put that into 47,000 into overtime pay. This is for all SROs, or not the SROs, but all the overtime activities that everybody goes and works ball games
For the
and
ball
stuff like
games.
that we do for the Board of Education.
We
So
are-
that's reimbursement for overtime there. We're gonna put that into the overtime line item on the Sheriff's Office side and related benefits. And that's all we've got.
So that overtime rose into a dollar amount instead of during the, I know they still do training and stuff.
Well, this is
or-
different.
This
This
is
is not
different.
Totally different.
This is
Yeah, I said that
This is
right. It's not
patrol,
this
this
way.
is patrol officers, or other
Or
officers.
SROs, or-
Yeah, or SROs that go, some
Okay.
SROs, but.
Work ball
That work
games.
ball
ball
games.
games. Because if you remember last year, we had this whole discussion about getting it right and.
Yeah.
Auditors made us do it, did they not?
Well,
Be
it's
accountable
more
for the school
of,
system.
Internal revenue issue.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it's a fair labor
Yeah.
issue that we're paying the folks overtime that's working doesn't matter that they're in the sheriff's, they're working for the schools, which is all under the same umbrella.
It is some SRO, but not
Rutherford
all
County.
SRO. It's mainly the patrol officers that are going, okay.
And
Keeps that straight.
initially, we only budgeted 70,000, because we didn't have history to look back on and say, well, how much should we do? And so
Right.
we did 70, knowing that we would have to adjust it. And so this amount, this 47, added to the overtime, brings them up to about what they spent last fiscal year.
Is that a voluntary kind of thing, or like,
Yeah, we post it.
I need 10 people over here at this game, and I need horses also, and I need, is that?
We post it up on the wall. They know kind of,
Been doing
when I was
it
an
all
SRO.
What games are-
What games, you have some games that, yeah, we have a minimum, I think it's 6, but some games like when you have the Battle of the Borough, you know you're gonna need probably 12 officers. And you're probably gonna need mounted patrol that night. So they kind of have a standard, but then they know what they need, and then they just post it on the wall, and it's just a sign up, voluntary sign up for that.
Gentlemen, we need to take action on these budget amendments.
I know.
Motion to approve all six.
Commissioner Jordan, thank
Second
you.
the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Baum.
He beat me to it.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
And just one follow-up thing, we've known about the chillers for a long time. They were coming, they brought it up before the last budget cycle, and this, just so people know that the sheriff's department wasn't springing on us all of a sudden.
Mr. Russell, the special purpose DEA fund budget amendment?
Yes, ma'am, we had seizures of $2,824.64, and so we're gonna pull that out of the asset forfeiture funds account and put that into our confidential line item.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Sheriff Arnold, who will be joining us for the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee to hire the additional school resource officers?
Major O'Gwen and Captain Barry Henderson.
Okay, Major Jacoby O'Gwen and Captain Barry Hendrickson. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And we have what was presented at Public Safety on our iPad. For the members of the committee, we do have what was presented to the Public Safety on our iPad. Is that the deal? Okay.
Oh, that's what we got right here.
Yes, sir, if you were here that last time, that's the same one.
Thank God, we got some paper for this.
You want to
Okay,
start a
gentlemen,
fire?
who is taking the
Breathe
lead
there.
on this,
That's an
gentlemen?
extra one of these.
Major O'Gwen is.
Okay, Major O'Gwen?
This is the same proposal that the Public Safety Committee asked us to present. Basically, they were asking us to present a proposal of what it would cost to supply every elementary school with an SRO full-time, which right now we have them half-time split. What we did was we took it and broke it down if we had a start date from March the 1st, April the 1st, May the 1st, and June the 1st. And then what it would be after the July the 1st. If you'll notice, I think it's page 3, the start date of March the 1st with the salary and benefits, the total package, and a pay grade 6, with an average of 5 years experience being 52,430, a number of 10 SROs. If you break it all down and do the math, it'll cost to the end of the budget year $174,766 approximately, and then an SRO sergeant, again with 5 years experience in that pay grade, is $58,730. It's $19,576 for a total of $194,342. If you add in the vehicle, equipment, and training, which is another $689,722, it's a total of $884,064. and then it's broken down by month. It reduces about 50,000 each month, approximately. And again, just like we told the Public Safety Committee, the numbers up here are not exact numbers by any means. We said last week that we
Not
would
turnkey.
Yeah, they may be higher, they may be lower. We don't know as far as the exact numbers because we don't know the actual people that we're putting in those positions, where they'll fall in the pay range and what pay range they'll actually fall in. So we did it based on a 5-year experience rate. This is the total recurring cost from March 1st on through July 1st. To break down the vehicles, we're asking for 11 vehicles. The equipment, 7,800, and the training per deputy is 3,000. There's explanations on the last 3 pages of the breakdown of the actual vehicle and the vehicle equipment. The actual equipment per deputy, it's down to each set of handcuffs that we give them. And it gives an explanation of the training and where that money's going for with the training.
So these SROs are getting new cars?
No, so what we're doing is
getting a new car, replacing it, or SROs is getting a used car, and
we'll put the new car in patrol and hand me that down. So if you'll notice in there, you'll
swap.
Yes, sir. And that's the way we've always done it. So we have to figure in that price of that car. If you'll notice on, I think it's page 5, the start date of July 1st, it goes up from 11 or 10 SROs to 12, and then 1 additional sergeant. The estimated total recurring cost of being $687,890, and then for bumping the vehicles up to 13, equipment and training is another $815,000 for, if we try and implement it after July 1st, it'll be 1.5 million, somewhere around in there. And again, like we said in the public safety meeting, we still have to bid out everything. This week, actually today, we sent the bid for the vehicle equipment to the mayor's office to put it out for bid. And then we said that we were going to go ahead and start the interview process, and that way, if we have the interview process and I know exactly what 11 people we're going to pick, then I can come back with an exact number as far as the exact cost of it, almost down to the penny of what it'll be. But we can't do that until we know what 11 people are going to go in those positions. We may have some that come in with 5 years experience. We may have some that come in with 10 or 10. And then we may have some that come in with a couple years. So we won't know that exact cost.
So the SROs don't top out?
Yes, sir. The SRO, the pay grade 6 tops out, but it tops out.
Depending on your...
Ms. Nolan, what is it?
Your grade.
20 years?
20 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
the steps top out at 20 years, and I think it tops out at roughly 50,000.
This February 7th, can we realistically have people in these positions March 1st? I mean, we're talking 3 weeks.
If we...
I mean, and another week before the commission meets. I mean, personally, I'm thinking if I can support this personally, and I may be speaking too soon, but I support it doing the budget process as we're doing and bring these guys on and start a school year.
Well, and that's one reason why we broke it down by month. And as soon as y'all approve it, because of the training, if we hire somebody, if we move them to SRO from patrol, they've got certain training. Now, we might not hire everybody from the sheriff's office, so we may have to go outside the department. If we bring somebody that's, say, in from Murfreesboro City, they got 15 weeks of patrol training they have to do with us, and then they have SRO training. And so, naturally, it would work better for us if we got them as soon as possible to start training them on all the different training that has to be done so that they're ready to go to work the beginning of the new school year. Because if we wait till July 1, really and truly, these boots are not going to hit the school till around January. You know, some of them. Now, we got some people within the department that will naturally, they just have the SRO training, and they'll probably complete it by the end of this school year, and then they'll go back and
So no matter what we do right now, very few of these are going to be in that school setting March 1st or April 1st.
We can have them in that school March 1st and April 1st
Well,
if it's approved March 1st or April 1st by that time period.
I know, well, that's 3 weeks.
Well, I understand
But you're
that.
also saying if we approve this June 1st of June, you can't have them there till January. And
Well,
so,
that's the guys that
that's
are
saying if we-
outside. Those
yeah,
are the
but-
guys that come from outside.
Okay, but the ones you could have there in 3 weeks now, if we approve this June
I think we could
first,
have at least
that could be there
half
for the start
probably
of the
there
school
because
year.
we have former SROs.
Yeah.
That we know
So
they're
some of
applying.
them, if it
Yeah.
was approved, but I'm worried about where to come up with all the money at, and we could address that
These
a lot
people-
better during the budget process, when we set the tax rate and everything else.
Would it be possible to commit to the personnel part of this, but then wait on purchasing the cars until the budget process? Would that make this easier to pass?
Here's the only problem with that.
I hope all of you will look at the big picture. We pretty much know that revenue is not going to increase this coming year, this coming fiscal year. We know that our development tax is improving, but we don't have enough money in reserve or the new development tax to even buy 25 new cars, much less any other equipment that we might need in the county. So we have to look at the total outcome of all of this and be ready to take whatever steps it takes if we choose to do this and any other positions that, I'm sure there are other positions in this 5-year plan, many of them, that would be equivalent to or greater than this. So you have to make your determination, and we don't know the real numbers yet, and we're not even started the budgeting process. We haven't had but one meeting with one department. And we're really 2 or 3 months away from having a good piece of information from all of you to know how much it's going to take an tax increase to make us whole next year.
For this part, what they said with the 1.5 million, that's roughly 3 cents on the property tax, which 3 cents on a $200,000 house, what is it? That's $15 a year.
That's
On a
easier
residential.
said, that's easier said than passed.
That's right. It is.
And
But I mean, that's what you're talking.
And
You
no
gotta-
offense to any commissioner up here at all, but there are commissioners, in my opinion, or people that would vote for this next week and vote no on the tax rate
Mhm.
come the end of May, and say, I'm not voting for a tax increase. You vote for this, you gotta figure out how to pay for it. So I think the two ought to be hand in hand. You vote for it all at once, or you don't vote for it at all. Because it's a great feel-good measure, I support it, but we're gonna have to bite the bullet and find the money. And if we prove it tonight, and everybody says in the May, oh, I can't vote for tax increase. I've seen it happen, it'll happen again.
Well, Commissioner Jordan, that's kind of why I was wondering if it would make any sense for us to discuss committing to the personnel part tonight, but wait until we're in the full budget process in May
If you
on the
commit to the
vehicles.
personnel part, it
You
forces it out of the
You're
bar.
locked in.
You're done, you're
That's
locked
what
in.
you just postponed
So
some of it.
you have to have the vehicles to make it
Here's
work.
the only problem, and you have
Yes.
to think about this. Just like I said in the public safety meeting. If we did this, we've got the bid process out, we have it's gonna take probably 45 to 60 days to get that back in. Once we get that back in, to order them, to actually get them outfitted, we don't have the vehicles there in order to put them in. So there would be some SROs that would have to drive their personal vehicle to the school. For a temporary time period, that may be all right, and we may be able to handle that. But if we have an incident out of school, and an SRO has to place someone under arrest, they have to have a car to transport them in. You can't throw them in the back of your,
Personal car.
wife's Explorer and take them to jail. We have to have the vehicles there to do them. So if this is passed, if it's something that y'all decide, and again, this isn't something that we proposed. Y'all asked us or the Public Safety Committee asked us what it would take. We're just showing you what it would take. But if we did that, we would need the money for the vehicles, so we can go ahead and get that ball rolling and get those vehicles in place as quickly as possible. Because it's still gonna take time. It's not like we can, if you write us a check today for $1 million and say, go buy your vehicles, it's gonna take probably 3 months to, at bare minimum, to get those vehicles outfitted and ready on the street.
Before you
It's
go-
not something.
Before you go too far down that line, though, regardless of whether, if we didn't hire another SRO, we're probably gonna end up having to buy some new vehicles this year anyway.
Yeah.
We normally
Yes.
do. So, I mean, these are vehicles that we'd be passing down, so, the point you're making about the vehicles, that will come in the budget process, whether we hire new SROs or not. So, I mean, I think that's that's gonna kind of balance itself there. I think what I'm looking at more is what it's gonna cost annually to perpetuate this. and it's basically $600,000. That's the estimate. The numbers that he's given us is 1.2 million. I feel like he's looked at the higher end there, so we don't get sticker shock or say, hey, we said we'd give you 1.2 and it's coming in 1.4. You know, I think he's averaged his people in to try to give us the high end so we don't get surprised on that. And that's basically what I was wanting out of public safety is, just like Will, I've seen it too many times. Yeah, this feels good. I'm gonna vote for that. Everybody's calling me and telling me, yeah, I want my kids safe. So I'm gonna vote for this, and then when it gets down time to pay for it, they're gonna vote no, or possibly vote no. And I want to know, that's why I pushed it to going through now, so we can look at this during our budget process and say, hey, you vote for this, you're basically gonna have to vote for a tax increase. Now, having said all that, I've got another question for you, and I brought this up in public safety. I've read twice now, and I haven't got details on it, that the legislation, our legislators, or there is some legislation being proposed to put money into the SROs in the state here. Do you know anything about that yet?
I do not. I haven't.
That last mail out that we got, you know, that they send it. That's got it in there.
I don't.
There's three different bills. I was down with the sheriffs today. There's three different bills that they're proposing in the state. One of them is where the state funds them. It's not going to go anywhere. You know, and then the federal government has said that they're going to allocate money to every state. It can go for having counselors in school and then also SROs. Realistically, the way that the pool that they're talking about money-wise, and they break it up over 50 states, you know, there's going to be like $1 million per state, you know, that, or something like that. It could end up where each state gets one funded or two funded SROs in the entire state.
Well, one thing about this, you don't have to sell this. When did we come on board? 93?
Yep.
With SROs in the high schools? And you're not going to have to sell this. The SRO program, the Sheriff's Department has done a fine job with this. So this, you know, as far as citizens and parents taking their kids to school, we feel safe. And, you know, a little misleading thing, I've had a couple calls on this. There's SROs going to these other schools. They're not without an SRO. They are swapping up, or whatever you want to say, and kind of moving back and forth,
doing
half and
days,
half and
yeah.
stuff like that. So I mean, we maybe haven't dropped the ball, but we haven't finished the ball game, and this is finishing the plan that we had started in '93, just to clear the slate just a little bit. So this is a great program. We got to pay for it as taxpayers, and that's where we have to figure out a plan. I think it was last month I said it. I'm for this, but it's got. I think it needs to come through the budgetary process that we're getting ready to start, and this starts, you know, first day of school start. I understand y'all's. We can't just start it then. We got to have, you know, but our budget will be done, you know, end of June. So the 1st of July, then you'll have some time to work right there, and maybe not enough time, and maybe you'll have some sort of feeling of how this is going and what we're going to do before that. But
one reason why we had this plan is because we're going to have a vacuum effect. If we move everybody out of patrol, then that means now we're going to have less patrol officers patrolling our streets. Because now we'll probably look at the jail to start hiring people from the jail to move to patrol, and then we're going to have a vacuum effect in the jail. So this has a big vacuum effect, and that's why we wanted to gradually bring it in. If we do it all July 1, we're going to have a huge vacuuming, and it could possibly affect.
Which we were already planning on. What is it? 2 at the new high school, right?
Yes.
And so then
that's why
out
July
of 11,
1st you'll see 13
9
instead of.
So it's 9 new ones that we're actually looking at that we weren't actually thinking about.
11 new
ones.
Yes, sir.
With the 2 that's
with the 2 that are going to high school.
Okay.
Yes,
I was thinking that was incorporated within the 2, so it's.
Yes, sir.
But I mean, worst comes to worst,
Yeah.
if you have to bring them on slowly, and some of these schools are still sharing through half the next academic year, then that's not the end of the world. We're ahead of every other county in the state, if I'm not.
Absolutely.
If I'm not mistaken.
We were up until last week.
Well, some of them are doing some knee-jerk reaction, and they're trying. You got brand new SROs everywhere. I think that's going to be a nightmare. Trying to break a whole county into all the schools with all new SROs, trying to figure out what they're doing at
There's
one
a
time.
bigger thing, like I said, the vacuum. It's going to be felt in the entire state because now we're moving all these certified officers, and all across the state, counties are doing this right here, and now the state gives us as a law enforcement agency 60 days from the time of hire to have someone post-certified. So if we hire 13, Williamson County hired 41, Wilson County just hired 23. A class only holds 50 down at the state level, and you have 6 months to get them through. That's 2 class cycles. There's a big vacuum that's fixing to happen in the entire state of Tennessee of trying to get people through the law enforcement training academy.
What have you guys thought about the prospects of, there are a lot of retired certified officers out there, hiring those people even as part-time?
That's one thing that, there's a bill down there, right now there's not enough time, it allows, one, they don't stay post-certified, because they're not full-time law enforcement officers. 2, there's the retirement bill down there right now, it doesn't allow them to work enough days. Because the school year is 180 days, and I forget exactly what the bill says.
120.
Yeah, part-time people can only work 120 and stay part-time. So that law I would love for that law to change to be 200 days or 220 days. That way you could.
Only if you could get somebody like for us that's not TCRS. The 120 is the TCRS.
And that would be looking for retired police officers that come from the cities.
Or MPs. Military police.
Actually, a constituent contacted me and asked if we could privatize this. And I'm not saying I endorse that at all, I was asked that question. So I asked you that question, is that possible to bid that out? And
you can do whatever you want as a commission.
I don't know if, we have to have certified officer stuff. Is that even an option?
I'll let, he wants to respond.
I hate to think of a mall cop over there,
Well, I think that's what you would be getting if you did do that. You have to understand that each SRO in these schools, elementary, middle, or high school, it doesn't matter. They have to be able to react to law enforcement matters. And simply having what we call yellow shirts, you see the yellow shirts that say security on the back of them, they have the ability to call us when they need something, and by that time it's too late. One of the school shootings that happened out west, that's exactly what happened. They had private security that walked the gunman into the principal's office, and there was nothing to do except basically be there or watch them do what they were doing. You get what you pay for, quite honestly. And if you have somebody in a private security setting that all they can do is have a radio and a set of keys, you're setting yourself up for liability, I think. And not only that, I'd be hard pressed to pick which school I wanted to put them in. I wouldn't want to put them in my child's school, So it's always an option, and they have downsized other places like MTSU. They hire those people to work ball games and stuff, but they still hire us as well because you've got to have that law enforcement presence there.
What about, to me, number one is that this is the most inexpensive way that we can go about getting some security in all our schools. The other is most of our schools, we have it set up at the front that that it's set up for lockdown to get in. You can only get in one certain way in and out. And somebody has told me about there's some kind of locks that they got out now, and I don't know really anything about them. I'm hoping you guys do, and you can mention more, that the teacher could lock it in the classroom from the inside, and it can't be locked from the outside, unlocked from the outside.
Yes, sir. Well, here's the only problem with that. Any school that you go to, walk around. It's all glass.
Yeah.
All you have to do is break the glass and walk in.
And that's exactly what happened at Sandy Hook. They had just created a new atrium there where you walk in. And I sat in Washington with the chief of police for Sandy Hook Elementary. I talked to him for about 30 minutes, just me and him, and he was one of the first responders. And he said, that's exactly, this guy just walked up, shot the window, and kept walking.
We can lock honestly, somebody had mentioned at some time, and I don't remember who it was, about how much it would cost to secure the actual buildings themselves. Basically, you're going to have to make it like a prison. You're going to have to put a 10-foot fence with barbed wire all the way around it, have an armed guard at the front with a door going in and out, and they have grounds that are actually secured. Schools aren't built like a prison. They're built so that they have a lot of windows, they have glass doors, so there's a lot of sunlight. All that is supposed to nourish the mind and soul of the kids, I suppose, but that's, I mean, it's made to be a happy place and a light place. But in order to do that, it just, you're talking a lot of money and a lot of time to go in and do that, and just like the sheriff said, all they have to do is shoot out the window and go straight in.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor, can we take this, would it be proper to take this, I don't want to say under advisement, but I mean, put this into the budgetary process? Is that, I mean, would that be proper to say, to do? I mean, that's my thought, Sheriff, and it may not be everybody else's thoughts here, but is to get this into your budgetary process and for us to work through this.
It's gonna be in there. I mean, one way or the other. I'm gonna have it in there. I'll have my other stuff in there as well.
But I'm saying as far as tonight,
Could we make a
make
motion
this-
to pass an endorsement of this on to the full commission, see if the commission endorsed the concept before we went forward with a budget with this in it? 'Cause
well, I think it, you know,
this was asked by your body for us to bring to y'all, that this was something y'all wanted looked at and y'all wanted to discuss, and that's what we're doing.
I feel sure most all the commissioners want to do this. They're just figuring out how we're going to pay for it.
I think maybe even at the full commission, either this next time or what, I don't know if it maybe be a presentation by the finance director or something saying this is what this would make deliver. I think it would be too premature at that point. I think it would need to be going through, like you're saying, in a couple months, we're gonna know, have a better scenario, better feel about what we're looking at.
It'll be the April commission meeting before we can give you any real numbers. It'll be April before we sit down with the sheriff on his budget.
Okay.
He's last.
And then you're.
They just sent me an email saying March 11th.
Well, that's a
No,
month.
no,
That's
no,
a
that's
month.
the numbers that we need in our
Okay.
office, your initial
Okay.
request.
We haven't been meeting with him until about the middle of April.
I'm not wanting to sweep this on the rug. I'm not wanting to say no to this. I'm saying, let's get it into the process where we can grasp it, digest it, and have a plan for it and what we're gonna do
I think.
in this plan, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the 1st of May that we'll be presenting the consolidated budget, so then you'll see the impact of there's request plus the mayor's recommendation.
Lisa, a couple quick questions. And I don't disagree with anything you guys said. Matter of fact, I said the same thing exactly in public safety. I want to get an endorsement on this and something we can work toward. But bottom line, say we didn't have the money to do this at all. What's a tax increase gonna,
Just
what's it
figure-
gonna take for this, what he's put out here for us right now? Just a quick estimate.
580,000 is about what a penny brings.
Okay, so you're talking a penny and a half, 2 pennies the first year, and then after that a penny. Well,
1.5
about
down there for a full
Just
year.
say
But that's only there's
Startup cost.
815,000.
Yeah, that's a
It's
startup
a
cost.
one-time fee. It's not a reoccurring fee.
Note you said about 3 cents wrong.
That was for,
That's
that's
cars,
for the
too.
whole
And that-
thing, cars and everything.
Yeah.
What you're gonna have cars in part of the regular budget.
okay,
But you gotta
Anyway,
fund it,
so I
too.
mean,
You gotta fund the cars
is
too.
about 600,000, so it's
so 3 cents, we know, we can probably figure on a 3 cent tax.
almost
If we
For this.
decide that we want to do
For
this.
the-
Well, that's what I want advertised at the full
1.5
commission.
for the
See if we
1.5
got
million.
enough
Then you
people
gotta
to
make
batter it.
Just put it, let it go
1.2 million coming
Yeah.
out.
So, I mean, and we've got to work through the budget process. We don't know exactly what it's
If
going
we
to
really
be.
weren't any of our opinions to add on, if we had
It used-
one thing, but we don't know whether
You gotta get,
I mean,
You're
others
right.
have to be added in.
No, I think you're right.
Madam Chairman.
Gentlemen.
I think you're right about that.
Gentlemen.
Recurring expenses.
Gentlemen, please. Commissioner P.
The only thing I want to finish by saying, and I'm not knee jerking or anything else, but I guarantee you, if we ever have a shooting in one of these schools that doesn't have an officer, we won't be talking about this week, passing something and wish we'd have done it tonight.
I know.
And having said that, I'm gonna make the motion that we go ahead and pass this with the sheriff's recommendations there.
Okay, we do have a motion.
But effective,
Well, and that's hard to say too. I would like to get 1 or 2 online before, to go ahead and hire the 2 or 3 at least that are certified. And what the difference on cost, I hadn't dug into it that much to see. But we know the maximum it's gonna cost us is 3 cents on the property tax rate. And it may not cost that much when we get through with the budget. It may cost more than that. We may be looking at a tax increase. We may not be. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm saying I'm willing to go with that 3 cents That's what it takes to get these officers in these schools.
But you
Okay,
make that
so
part of the
we have,
motion.
we have a
If it
motion, do
takes-
we have a second?
What's the motion?
He's,
You'll implement it.
To implement,
Yeah, like
effective
that.
July 1?
he hasn't said, just give us a date if you can, Commissioner P.
Well, let me just say July 1. I think it'll be a little more palatable.
Okay. Okay, we do have a motion from Commissioner P.
I'll second for.
Second from Commissioner Schaefer. Discussion.
I think some commissioners are somewhat concerned about this. I'm wondering if there's a way we could reduce the cost a little bit to enhance its chances of passing. And here's one thing I thought I'd mention. When you've got several schools located by each other, would it be possible, at least temporarily or in the short run, to get away without buying the full?
That's what we're doing now.
That's
what you're doing now. Exactly what we're doing
No,
now.
I know that, but they all come with patrol cars now. I mean,
We have to have a vehicle to do our job.
but that's I guess that's what I'm wanting to talk about. Could you,
No.
when you've got 3 schools by each other, could you have 2 patrol cars and 1 SRO arriving to work without a patrol car? And then if you need the patrol car,
No.
it's at one of the neighboring schools.
You still run the risk. If somebody has to respond to an emergency, God forbid something happens, personal car, bicycle, there's not an officer out there that will not respond to another officer crying for help. That's just how it is. And you get that officer responding in a private vehicle with no insurance, no blue lights, not the proper equipment on it, you run the risk of something going very wrong with that right there. And trust me, the cars that we have now, and I know y'all have to come up with new ones, and we've never fussed about cars in the SRO division. They're not gyms what we're driving now. So that end of it, we've got blue lights, we've got emergency equipment on them. You've got to have that if you're a law enforcement officer. You've got to. Private security, maybe not, but a law enforcement officer showing up in a POV, it's we can't block a road with it. You just can't do your job without.
You can't respond.
The car.
If you had another shooting at another school and you need officers, you can't respond.
Well, I just asked the question because I can see if it were an isolated school, you'd need a patrol car there. But if you had 3 schools in a row and patrol cars at 2 of the 3, but SROs in all 3 of the schools, then they could swap out on a short-term basis just to, and again, I'm just trying to think of a way to make this increase its chances of passing a little bit. A big chunk of the cost is upfront cost in the first year on equipment. If it could be spread out a little bit, the recurring cost of $500,000 to $600,000 a year is not.
If
not
we
that
had the
much. It's
vehicles
not as
in our
much.
fleet, I'd be glad to, but we don't have the extra vehicles in our fleet. Yeah.
Mayor Burgess.
If there was.
I want to, let me address a little bit of what Commissioner Baum is saying. We've always been able to fund vehicles out of capital dollars, not really property taxes. So I think we can still manage through that part of it. But the reoccurring cost, those reoccurring costs, coupled with all the other reoccurring costs that we have to address, are really the things we have to be, I think, more considerate of. I want to say one other thing here, and this won't be favored, I'm sure, but we're focused on what's happening inside the schools. We've improved, we've enhanced the security to get in these schools immensely. There are lots of kids that are not inside those buildings, either on the practice field, on the play field. You know, this is not going to be the end all of alls to solve these problems by any stretch of the imagination. We'll never get to a 100% foolproof approach. So at some point, you have to do some real soul searching on how much is enough. And I don't know the answer to that, but it's something we have to deal with. Or else we'll have to lock them in, like you said, a prison. They can't go outside, they can't play, and there's not an SRO out there on 2 or 3 practice fields and 2 or 3 playgrounds. They're somewhere else. So this is not going to solve the problem by any stretch of the imagination.
And nobody thinks that it will, but if you go back and look at the history of this SRO program, you know, it's something that needs to be expanded into all of our schools, regardless of whether this shooting ever came up or not. You know, the commissioners that don't think it's a good idea to have them or to pay this extra money, I'd be glad for y'all to take them out of their schools and bring them over to mine that don't have them. I think it needs some consideration too.
Well, I think you gotta look at it what we're talking about tonight is the easiest deterrent that we can do, that we can come up with. Now, I don't even have a grandchild in an elementary school here. I support this, and if I had to, I would put in the tax increase to do it. But I wanted to agree with everybody else here that I'd like to see this come up before the commission, and we'd have the roll call vote on it, beginning with Commissioner 21 for a change. Instead of one.
Roll call vote backwards.
But here and there on it.
Well, Commissioner Schaefer, I'm the one who has to vote first tonight, alphabetically. What's the implication of delaying it from a decision now, as Commissioner P has proposed, to the budgetary process, like Commissioner Sandlin has mentioned, which would be in the April period? I mean, how much does that delay getting the, time-wise, getting the SROs in the schools?
Here's what you're looking at realistically on that bottom line. We have 31, 32 people that's put in for it so far. And Mayor, you mentioned earlier about having retired personnel from other departments. I went and pulled all the applications that they had filled out for the last year and put their first choice at school resource officer down, and we take applications all the time at the sheriff's office internally. We've had 3 put in for it that were for school resource officer as their first pick. One of those wasn't even certified, so I think we have to drop them out. So I think there's just 2 that we will be interviewing here in the next couple of weeks. Basically what you're looking at is, out of those 31 people, and this goes back to Commissioner Jordan, if we get down and we get the 11, and we get, let's say, 3 to 5 that already have been SROs, they can be in a school by themselves within 3 weeks. Am I correct?
Yes.
If they come from outside, like let's say that we hire somebody, I know we've had people put in from Bedford County to Murfreesboro to, I think, Nashville. We had an application from Nashville. If we have somebody that we hire from the outside, not only do they have to come in and do 10 weeks through the SRO program, but they also have to do a minimum of 10 weeks through the other FTO program on patrol. So that's a total of 20 weeks. Plus you have a couple in-services they have to go to in there. So let's say 22 weeks at pretty much bare minimum. So that's why we started with the start date of March the 1st, because what we'd actually do, we wouldn't hire all 11 on March the 1st and have them all in schools. They would be phased in over that time. We would, once we have the 11 people that we're going to hire, or 13 people that we know we're going to hire, we would take the ones that we know are going to take the longest to train and hire them first. That way they could complete all their training through the summer. The other ones we would pull in at the end, say July 1st, somewhere around in there. They could complete the rest of their training and possibly have all of them ready to go by the time school starts. What is it, August 7th? Something of that nature. So it wouldn't be, in the number that you see up here of 194,000 from now until the end of the budget year, it wouldn't be 194,000. Realistically, it'd probably be around half that. I have to put the numbers out as they lay to tell you exactly what it would be if we hired all of them. But that would be our plan if we did have this approved up at the front. The people that's going to take the longest to train are the people that we would hire first. That way we could get them through the summer when there's no school. The people that would take the least amount to train, we'd pull them in toward the end and have them trained by the time school starts. That's why we say it can take up to January or February in order to have them in schools by themselves if it's approved July 1st. We know that if it's approved July 1st, we're probably not going to be actually able to spend that money or hire those positions till, probably toward the end of July. So, that's more
sounds
time.
like the answer is the time depends on who you hire, whether you're hiring someone who's already trained or not. But this kind of goes back to my comment about the cars earlier. If you're not necessarily going to have them all in place to start March the 1st, do you need to buy all the cars right now, or could you delay some of this for the to the budgetary process?
Well, I understand that, and I understand exactly what you're saying on the cars, and what you have to understand is, like the mayor said, we're gonna be asking for the cars anyways. It's not like we're gonna be asking for these cars and more cars on top of that. And we had the presentation at the sheriff's office when, you know, we showed you what the mileage was on the cars. We have cars on the street now with over 130, 140,000 miles. We need the cars now on patrol regardless. This is kind of, would be a Band-Aid to help us get through until July, to pull the worst cars off of patrol and put the new ones in. So we're still going to have the cars, and still going to need the cars. The one big thing that somebody said that I didn't think of is, you got to think of what a deterrent the actual patrol car is sitting in front of the school.
I've heard from principals it is.
You know, I mean, that's like if you have a patrol car at a bank, well, who's going to go around a bank with a patrol car sitting in front of it? You know, it's a huge deterrent just having that car sitting there. It lets everyone know that there is a cop there. You may not know where he is. He may be out on the playing field somewhere. He may
I
be.
realize that. I've talked to several principals, and they've, in some cases, suggested the SROs aren't leaving the school building very frequently at all, but having the car sitting out there is as much a part of the deterrent as the officer. So I understand that.
I've had principals call me since all this has happened and said, hey, can you give me a car and just let me drive it? And I'm like, one, I don't have the car, and no, you can't drive the car.
Well, that's why we did the take-home policy years ago. Virgil remembers this. I mean, that was, you know, patrol officers are living in our neighborhoods. I mean, you know, we all living together here, so that's just a deterrent itself. But
Just want to know why.
yeah.
Well, we have a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we do. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion relative to the motion?
And the motion is to proceed basically immediately with this.
Well, he ended up saying a start date of July 1st.
Well, I mean, but that's going to commit us to doing this, if this was to go on to the full commission next month. Well, I support the concept. I can't support doing this at this point in time.
Mayor
I
Burton?
mean, I think we need a bit more clarification. What does it mean to be implemented on July the 1st? Does it mean we start hiring people now? If it does mean that we start hiring people and phasing them in, we need a budget amendment tonight to identify exactly how many more dollars we got to move out of ending fund balance to start this.
My intention with it, and I don't know that I worded it well, was at least know that we are gonna do this, and at the end of our budget cycle, the money will be in there to do that.
More or
So
less
by
a
July
heads up
1st,
that it's-
it will
this
be
is
there
going
in
in the
place
budget.
for him to hire those people. Now, I'd
Before
like
we
to think
send a
that
resolution.
if we're gonna do that, we can come back and ask for that other 190, so we can get some of these started. But until we see that we've got this, that it will pass the full commission, then.
Could the commission not
That's what I
endorse
was
the
thinking,
concept
yeah.
of doing this and then this still be included in the budget process? I think everybody wants to do this.
How do
And
you
I'm not
figure
gonna
that?
commit to spending this much money until we have a tax rate set or be part of it. We gotta know where the money's coming from.
I think both what Commissioner P and I were looking at is we want to get the commitment to see
is a-
what they're gonna, people are gonna say, the 21
Let's
are.
just make a motion to endorse the concept and then for it to be included in this year's budget and do it correctly. This is a permanent fix. You know, we're trying to make a decision here in February, middle of February, when the budget process starts next month. Now, let's do it correctly. We're gonna have these guys on hand forevermore.
Well,
more
I
or
agree.
less.
I agree. It's got to come from this. You know, it's got to come from this committee. It's got to come from budget committee. So if you would, I wouldn't vote for it right now, but I would vote for it if you sent it to full commission, and let's get a majority vote out there. This is what it's going to look like in our budgetary process, and if it's 3 cents for the package, then this is what it is, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take at least an increase on our property tax, 3 cents, to fund this. And you're voting for this, but you're also voting for increase at this point in time. You're also voting to increase the property tax.
To me, that's what he
3
was saying,
cents.
and that's what I was
Now, that's
saying.
not saying that's the rest of the package. This is just one part of it. So
But until we set the tax rate, they can't go start hiring people.
I understand, and I
In my
understand what y'all are
opinion.
doing, but
That's
you
why I
know,
waited till July,
Yeah.
so. But,
I think we're all trying to get the same place.
Yeah.
I believe we are too, and,
Yeah.
I wanna go ahead and get a vote on this. If it doesn't, then we'll go back and ask for the concept to go forward to full commission.
So the motion and the second stands. Are we ready to vote, gentlemen?
Just make, what we're voting on right now.
To approve the
Been so
sheriff's
long
department's
since I was.
plans.
To approve it.
To
Approve it now instead of then.
And then we'll have to set a funding mechanism for
I
it.
agree with William, I think we need to get all, defer all 21 of them side.
Well, it's to start in July, not immediately, Joe. That's the only other thing, so.
But this locks us in if this was passed, and it needs to be part of the budget process. I support it, but I can't support this motion.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
No.
Commissioner Jernigan?
No.
Commissioner Jordan?
No.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Stanley?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
No.
So can I ask a question now? How do we get it to the commission to get them to vote on something and put it on a little board up there, or by roll call vote as to how they're gonna stand if it takes
Make
3
a mo-
cents?
Make a motion that we send a resolution to the full commission to endorse the concept of the SROs and for that to be included in the budgetary process.
To include an amount that it's got to pay for the cost in a budgetary contract?
That's actually just gonna be a feel-good measure, so it's gonna be, not gonna do a thing legally, but.
No, but it lets you see where people stand.
We will put it in his budget as a separate line item. It won't be all lumped up with everything else, and you can specifically see what it's going to take to fund these additional positions.
So do we need to send a resolution to the commission at all?
Not really, we're gonna do that anyway.
Okay.
If it's going to be in the budget.
That came out of
So
public
we're not
safety.
gonna
They
do
go to
anything.
the full commission for the concept.
Can I ask a question?
But if you're gonna fund something like that, I mean, it needs, I think Budget Committee needs to send it to the full commission with
Major.
You're not gonna know anything till June 29th right now.
So
As a major/commander.
Major commander, I guess. I have a question. Maybe it's just me being ignorant. If it's gonna cost a 3-cent tax increase and a cent's 580,000, 600,000, somewhere around there, then what's gonna happen to the other 2.5 or 1 3/4 cents after that year?
After the startup period.
Because
It's
that's
actually
another
gonna-
815,000.
It's actually gonna cost a little over a penny for recurring cost, but we gotta figure out where to get
Yeah,
the
the 3 cents
capital
is
investment
confusing
money.
me, because it's,
Yeah.
everybody says, well, it's a 3-cent tax increase, but it's actually only a little over a cent tax
Mhm.
increase. So instead of being $15, it's $5.
Well, I was saying worst case scenario.
Well,
And that's what I,
That's gonna be the point.
Well, I
If
think-
we send it to the full commission Thursday night, is what are we talking about, and exactly how much are we talking about,
And
and
we
what's it
can't-
gonna be on the property tax?
We can't set a tax rate until
Right.
June 30th.
Right. But this is part of the puzzle. This is part of the budget.
It's one piece of a
Yes.
large puzzle. It
Yes.
has many pieces.
Mayor, what fund did you say we had funded vehicles out of before? Did you say? Development tax fund. Well,
Pretty much.
if development
Now,
tax.
if that runs out, we'll have to eventually start funding these things with property tax.
We just
And
paid for
with
a
that-
chiller out of that a
Well,
minute
with
ago.
that
268
chiller, we're down to $860,000 in that projected ending balance.
That's 9 cars, 5 cars.
But you've already said you've got
Today's
25 cars that you need next, so when you say 3 cents, I mean, 3 cents is gonna get eaten up, whether with these cars or somebody else's cars. I mean, it's at least 3 cents.
What I'm asking is if we raise it if y'all raise it 3 cents this year, are my taxes gonna go down next year because we don't have the money?
No.
Then what's gonna happen to the extra money?
Y'all will have more cars.
There are other needs besides this, many other needs that we haven't even discussed.
Okay, gentlemen, do you want to pursue sending something to the full commission?
I do.
Is public safety bringing something anyway?
No, the motion on public safety was to bring this to budget, and it passed there to forward to the full commission for approval of the concept. And it sounds like y'all approve the concept, so I'll make a motion that we approve the concept of hiring these SROs. Is that basically what you were talking about?
That's what I was talking about, but I don't think that has any teeth. That's what I said a minute ago. That would be just a feel-good measure is all it is.
Y'all voted down the teeth a minute ago.
Yeah.
But maybe instead of approve, maybe you could endorse the concept that's been proposed here and
You'd find out how long
request
that
that
21 commissioners felt.
a full disclosure be made through the budgeting process on the cost of it.
Well, it's like Commissioner was saying, it's trying to see what the commission feels about it.
You're gonna
And funding it
say then,
and
I
as
think
well
we
as
need to do
endorsing
that.
it as a whole.
Okay, was that your motion, Commissioner P?
I think the mayor's motion was much better than mine.
I mean,
You got that?
add
Got
that.
that down, but I
I was
would,
gonna say.
I'll second what the mayor said.
Okay. So, so we're endorsing,
the concept.
The concept, and, it will be, full disclosure, somehow you will have it as a separate
through the
line
budgeting
item,
process,
so that we'll
separate
know
line
exactly
item.
what the cost will be during the budgetary process.
And actually, this doesn't mean anything
Not
legally.
Not
It's
really.
just- But it will, as Joe Frank said, you make the commission, see how many commissioners will support this out of 21.
Again, we don't have any guarantee that we will have, full support when it comes to raising the property tax, and.
Why can't you put that in the motion? That by this,
Is
if
that gonna be in the
you endorse
resolution?
this,
Should that be in the
then you're
resolution?
saying
Your
that
committee?
you're gonna support it.
You're gonna have to vote for it again come
Yeah.
first of May.
I don't think you can-
First.
No,
I don't think-
but you can make the vote. A person can say yes, no, or abstain. You know, but you gotta have something
That's
there,
when-
or it's completely worthless.
That's when it comes back with teeth in it, when we set the tax rate.
Right.
Okay, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second.
And that's for 13 SROs?
That would be a total of 13. Yes.
Two are given, though. Two are coming.
I know, so do I include that too?
Well, just-
Or do you do just 11, because
I would say
that's
just the
the
11 additional, but two are coming regardless.
Well, we were gonna put them in our budget
Yeah.
anyway.
We wouldn't consider opening that high school without.
But he's gonna probably want us for other.
If you vote yes to this motion, then what?
Might not include all of them.
Okay, what should we put?
Well, just put that 13, which includes 2 that we're committed
Okay,
to,
let's
to the
do
opening
that.
of a new high school.
Gentlemen, any further discussion relative to this motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
How about abstain?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
I guess so, yes.
Commissioner Eaton.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so-
Okay. Gentlemen, Sheriff Arnold, anything else? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's like
Is
tying up a
anything-
dog that doesn't have any teeth left. Can't even chew on a
Gentlemen,
bone.
is there any other business? Mayor Burgess, any other business?
Chief Farley came in, but he left again, but